Welcome to Nugget 172 with Steve Groman, and we're continuing in the Science News, May 2021, with another article on their evolutionary mindset of humans. This article is called Human-like Brains Had a Late Start. Modern frontal lobes began shaping up by 1.7 million years ago. That's just preposterous.
Yes.
And they're making this as a factual byline, and people believe this.
Right. Absolutely, people believe it. Most people, as a matter of fact.
Sadly.
He starts off, even after members of the genus Homo took their first steps out of Africa, they still may possess brains more like those of great apes than humans today, a new study suggests.
So May and a new study. So again, as you've been pointing out for decades, they're always just rewriting and changing, and I know that their excuse is, we're just being honest.
Yeah.
Well, no, they're still carrying on the storyline.
Right, but it's being presented as factual back each time, each step of the way.
And everybody new that enters the mix needs to add their new, hey, look what I found.
Right. Next paragraph says, for decades, scientists had thought modern human-like organizations of brain structures evolved soon after the lineage Homo arose roughly 2.8 million years ago. So they're about half off in the time. They think that they evolved this way. Well, you know, the Bible says God made us in the image and likeness of Him. So anyway, there's two definitely different concepts here.
But an analysis of fossilized skulls that retain imprints of the brains they once held now suggests such brain development occurred much later. Modern human-like brains may have emerged in an evolutionary sprint starting about 1.7 million years ago. Paleoanthropologist Marcia Ponce de Leon and colleagues report in the April 9 Science. They can't possibly know this. There is no way that they can apply the scientific method to any of these dates.
Exactly. But again, it just reeks of their preconceived ideas and notions. But it goes on to learn more about how the human brain evolved. The team analyzed the replicas of the brain's convoluted outer surface. Those replicas were recreated from the oldest fossils from an archaeological site in Georgia, known to preserve the inner surfaces of the skulls. They dated around 1.85 to 1.77 million years ago. Boy, they got it down to preciseness there, don't they?
Is that not 150,000 year, give or take?
Right. Scientists focus on the frontal lobe brains, areas linked with complex mental tasks such as tool making and language. We can talk about how people's skulls look different today. Each of them have a brain. Now, how that thing fits in there is how that thing fits in there. So what? Not everybody looks the same. Not everybody is the same on that, but it doesn't mean that one is less developed or developed previous or whatever.
It fills the spot.
But if you apply this kind of logic to current day people, if you find a skull of somebody whose shape is different than somebody else, man, you could have all kinds of, racism type issues that could come up out of this kind of thing.
Well, and the other thing is, does that mean that if you're a small little girl and you have a small head, that your brain isn't as big or
that's what I mean.
Good as some big guy that's got a bigger head?
Yeah.
That's nonsense.
It's preposterous, the whole way this thing is, the concepts behind it. But these people ventured out of Africa, produced a variety of tools, exploited animal resources, and cared for elderly people. Now they know everything about how they lived.
They did what?
They learned everything.
They cared for elderly people?
They cared for the elderly people. So anyway, they know how exactly all these people lived, and they just find a few little bits and fragments and such and develop these whole communities out of these.
It's nuts.
It is. Listen how this article ends. Reconstructing ancient brains from skulls remains largely controversial. I bet it is. Cautions paleoanthropologist Bernard Wood of George Washington University in Washington, D.C., who was not involved in the study. Once again, deducing how the inside of fossils' brain case reflected bumps and grooves on the brain surfaces or what the effect of such organization might have had on the brain function can prove challenging. Quote, this is just the beginning of discussions about what this means.
And that's kind of like what I just said.
That's what we've been saying all this time. This article ends with the very thing the thrust we've been trying to bring forth. You cannot know. But yet they make these articles, they print these articles, people read this, or they make a short news blurb on news, and people hear it on the radio, and people think something is being done in a way that really truly isn't.
Someone else could analyze this article who is steeped in evolution and extract data from it, present it extremely factually, put it on Yahoo News or something like that, and people believe it hook, line, and sinker.
Exactly.
It's when you actually read these whole articles with the biblical worldview that you realize how ridiculous it is, but understand that these are evolutionary colleges, evolutionary universities, evolutionary technicians and professors. This is their worldview. So that is how they're going to present it. And that's all they know.
That is
there
all
was
they
a
know.
time that all I knew was evolution.
That's
so
true.
I'm not necessarily dissing them, but we have to understand that they're
Where they're coming from.
right. It's the only place they have been. And we need to start speaking up and get involved and explain to more people that there is a creator who created them and that they aren't an accident and something that has evolved and has a little bit of Neanderthal in them.
Right. Interesting stuff.
Yeah, interesting stuff. All
But
right.
people are hearing this kind of thing on the news, and it is causing them to question.
Even if it's subliminally.
Right.
It's kind of like I say, drink Coke. Apparently, years ago, when people would go to the drive-in theaters during the film, they would instantly flash a thing that would say drink Coke, and you wouldn't see it, but it was up there. And next thing you know, when it came to intermission, everybody's rushing to the concession stand to go get a Coke.
Yeah.
It's a subliminal message.
They've been using the concept for a long time.
Yeah, it's a technique that works. And we need to get on top of some of these issues and spread the truth of God's creation and that we are made in the likeness and image of God.
Exactly.
All right, well, thank you. Like, subscribe, hit that little bell, and tell others about our YouTube channel. Thank you.